Greetings and salutations, people of the internet. Austin here. Welcome to part 2 of the Oncouv Region breakdown. Last time we began with the first third of my Canada-inspired Fakemon region and ended off on a beast of a cryptid Pokemon. We'll be picking it up from there with this video. So please sit back and enjoy as we continue our journey through the region. Without further ado, let's begin. Bumberjack, the beaver Pokemon. The evolved form of Bibarel, aka the true god of Pokemon, once exposed to a metal coat, and it's based off of Lumberjacks if the name wasn't obvious enough already. One of the funniest cross-gen Evos in my catalog, I knew I wanted to give Bibarel some love this region with an evolution. Making it a Lumberjack was easy. The chainsaw tail and axe buck teeth were there from the very start. It did take 2 tries to get this Pokemon right, the first attempt being way too close to Cap Current from the Texkin reboot. I added the metal on the arms to look like arm hair you'd see on a stereotypical Lumberjack, combined with the suspender pattern on the torso. I created Woodsman to give this some grass stab and power up any of its partners and doubles. As such, this was the 3rd member of my in-game team. Oncouvian Barboach, the Whiskers Pokemon. Our next regional variant here is based off of Stonecats, a species of catfish, naturally. As far as changes outside of the colors, I made the fins more rectangular, curved the whiskers, made the mouth more of a diamond shape, and changed the pattern on the side of the body. I'd been meaning to do a regional Wishcash line for a while, but the previous attempt just did not work. I was going to do one in the Amalop region, but the design fell through and eventually became the Aerocyte line. This has poison point due to a lot of catfish species having venom at the end of their whiskers for self-defense. Oncouvian Whiscash, the Whiskers Pokemon. This one was tough to find a good reference for in this position since I knew I wanted to change it from the original pose after failing to make it look good. I made the top whiskers a lot bigger and divided the bottom ones into 2 pairs. I rounded off the fins and I made the W on the forehead much bigger, acting now like a giant monobrow. Not much to say about the design. They're solid regional variants with some pretty good shinies. Raffurnus, the Stomach Fire Pokemon. This was a fun one. This is based off of a salmon shark and furnaces. It's part fire type due to salmon shark's ability to maintain its stomach temperature, something that is not common among fish. So I thought that'd be fun to turn into a furnace. I love this design so much, from the gills acting as vents to the stomach pattern looking like a furnace grate, especially with that glow effect. The colors, the proportions, everything came together to create one of my favorite Pokemon in the region. Memelon, the fruit mimic Pokemon. Based on watermelons and green lynx spiders, I thought making a watermelon mimic spider would be a fun design to play around with. This thing is sufficiently cute for a first stage. The vine acting like a strand of hair on top of the head. I think this is an overall solid design. Sugary Snare was created as a means of speed control and to give this Pokemon a unique gimmick in battle. Sitruviri, the fruit spider Pokemon. Fun fact, I originally tried to make this into a Convergent Ariados, but failed miserably, so I turned it into its own species after trial and lots of errors. Originally, I had the watermelon thorax horizontally, but it didn't look as good after trying them both directions. I did this design first and went back to create Memelon after the fact. I love the watermelon slice head and face, easily the best design elements of the Pokemon. Only rivaled by the watermelon seed spikes on the legs and the shape of the eyes. This was such a fun Pokemon. Pansick, the upset stomach Pokemon. This one is interesting. This line was actually created as part of a contest series on Discord I was a part of before I was eliminated. I was given the poison type for the elemental monkey prompt for that round, so I thought a monkey with a perpetual stomachache would be a good foundation for the line. Because of this Pokemon, there is an addition to the See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and Speak No Evil saying in the Oncouv region. Eat no evil. I really need to redo the render on these Pokemon, otherwise I have no issues with the design itself. Simisig, the toxic Pokemon. Might be too subtle, but I do love the loose poison-type symbol at the end of the tail. I thought that would be a fun design element for the evolution here. With the tongue hanging out combined with the long hair covering the eyes, I think it creates a pretty strong personality for this Pokemon, just making it look ill. The only thing I think I could have added was some drool hanging off the tongue or the side of the mouth to tie it into its Pokedex entries more. This is a solid addition to the region. I don't know if I'll ever do more elemental monkeys. Something to consider for the future. Raboa, the elastic Pokemon. Based off of rubber boas and rubber band balls, this is a fun single-stage Pokemon. I had the idea of a snake tied into a ball that would hamper any attacks thrown at it. This is a very simple design, but I think a more complicated one would have taken away from this Pokemon in a big way. I made it Fairy Dragon since I've only done one other of those prior at this point, surprisingly. I created Rebound to give this Pokemon a niche fitting into its Pokedex lore as well, and I thought it was just a fun ability overall. Howlski, the loud dog Pokemon. There are so many dog Pokemon in this region. I'm almost tempted to put a counter in the corner as a running joke for this video series. Based on the drama queen of dogs, Huskies. This Pokemon is basic as hell, admittingly. Not much visually to show off the sound type, but it's cute enough to make up for that fact, I feel. I had to make a Husky into a sound type, based on how vocal these puppers are 24/7. Subwoofer, the loud dog Pokemon. Slap a Thunderstone on Howlski and this Pokemon is born. Still based around Huskies, but now throwing in some speaker elements. The name was too perfect not to use. I had to. I made the sound type a lot more prevalent in the evolution here with these speakers on the inside of the ears and these subwoofers on the legs, giving the Pokemon some much needed visual bulk. I mainly conveyed the electric type with the yellow in the color scheme, since I didn't want to overshadow the sound type here. This is such a good boy. Helico, the Sky Screw Pokemon. The first convergent species of the region, this is based on UFOs and helicopters. The latter being in how this Pokemon spins around to achieve lift. I based this convergent Pineco design around some early helicopter designs from the early Renaissance era. This design is okay. There isn't anything really wrong with it, but it's not special either. It's more of a fun idea on paper than execution. Nebulous, the UFO Pokemon. I once got a comment that this Pokemon felt more like a Paradox than a Convergent, and they were kinda right. This Pokemon is too mechanical to feel natural, even if it is based on UFOs. I need to simplify the design. Maybe remove the triangle pattern, or take the balls at the end of the cannons off. Otherwise, it's a fun design. Still the weakest design of the Convergents in the region easily, though. Oncouvian Love Disc, the Electric Heart Pokemon. This regional variant is based off of Pacemakers, the device being developed in Canada. I really love this design. It's super simple, but effective for Love Disc. I love the wire/fins on the side of the body with the red and blue tips at the ends, especially on the tail. I think that looks really nice. Naturally had to change the colors to fit the new typing, trying to make it dead obvious what it is at a glance. There is no Oncouvian Lots of Love, sadly. Didn't feel like that would work here. I might do that in the eventual reboot. I could turn it into an ambulance or something else along those lines. Could be fun. Wolverine, the Snapjaw Pokemon. This menace of a Pokemon is based on the second best mustelid, the Wolverine. The honey badger is clearly the best, don't at me. Not a whole lot to say with this design, just a solid Wolverine Pokemon all around. I really like the eyes here. I like that shade of orange contrasted against the blue of the muzzle. I made it a dark type to reference how ferocious Wolverines can be, and for that reason I also gave it strong jaws since those things have a hell of a bite force. Wolf Voltage, the Electric Claw Pokemon. Evolves from Wolverine once it heals 250 HP without passing out. I had to make the evolution based off of everyone's favorite surly mutant. I decided to make an electric type to help it stand apart from all these steel type Wolverine fakemon I did during my research phase. And I just needed electric types as a whole. I love this design so much. This is one of the best designs in the whole region. Love the electric claws coming out of the arms. I think that's such a clever way to reference Logan's claws without making them physical parts of the Pokemon's body. Naturally had to give this Pokemon Regenerator for the hidden ability. I was more than happy to make this the 4th member of my endgame team. Escarbosa, the ship's shell Pokemon. The evolution of one of my own Fakemon, this evolves from Course Snail once it learns Bar Barrage, and goes full pirate ship with the evolution. Technically, this has nothing to do with Canada, but I always try to have an 80-20 split on relevant versus fun Fakemon concepts with each region. I wanted to give Course Snail an evolution, so here we are. The ship's shell took multiple takes to get right, mainly with the harpoon/lightning bolts. I really love the wave pattern along the bottom of the Pokemon. I thought that was really clever for a pirate Pokemon in general. This turned out so good. Oncouvian Skitty, the kitten Pokemon. Another regional variant based on Canadian animation, suggested by the same person behind the Rocky and Bullwinkle idea. This one I gave less pushback initially. This line is based on the underappreciated gym, Atomic Betty. Skitty here is based around Betty's civilian attire. The fur at the end of the tail resembling her skirt, the headband around the face separating the body from that distinctive red hair. This is an alright design. I don't think I would have used Skitty/Delcatty without this idea admittingly, so points for that. Oncouvian Delcatty, the Earth Defender Pokemon. Still evolving with the Moonstone, this design is now referencing Betty's battle armor. This took a hot minute to make look natural, mainly with the head and hair at the end of the ears. I tried my best to translate her uniform into design here, some of it more successful than others. I made unassuming to reference Betty's deceptive appearance at a glance compared to bigger and scarier looking Pokemon. That, and I thought Delcatty needed some more love, so I gave it a unique niche. Geistchu, the disguised Pokemon. Another Pokemon I tried in another region. Originally trying this in the Vanek region, but was unsuccessful at the time. This is the evolved form of Mimikyu, now imitating Raichu for its power. This Pokemon will force others to respect it through battle. This is probably the weakest of the new evolutions in the region design-wise. I struggled a lot on what to do with this Pokemon since I didn't want to skip out on it again. I'm stubborn like that. Eventually, I settled on it imitating Raichu for a natural-ish progression. Despite this not being the most original concept, this turned out pretty well. I don't know what I'd change it in a second draft for this Pokemon. That's Future Austin's problem. Despite this, however, I made this the 5th member of my in-game team. Eskimdal, the Body Heat Pokemon. Our next good boy. This one is based on Eskimo dogs. Not much more to say in that regard. I thought a fire-type puppy to help the people who live in the coldest part of the region stay warm was a good decision. I really like the color scheme here with the blue contrasting against the rest of the fiery design like with Honeyferno. I guess I just like blue on my fire types. Be warned, they are the most aggressive snugglers in the entire region. I'm a canine, the Body Heat Pokemon. Evolves from Eskimdal once it reaches max friendship. I leaned more into the Eskimo side of the inspiration. I gave the Pokemon more fur along the body, mainly with the hood covering the back of the head and around the neck. I had the orange stripe around the middle to break up the colors and help the Pokemon look like it's wearing a snowsuit with fur at the ends of the limbs. I made it a fire type to reference its kind nature and fire fairies, just a fun type in general. Gourmunch, the food thief Pokemon. This terrifying glutton is the evolved form of Slurpuff once exposed to a Duskstone and is based around gourmands, messy eaters, and waffles/pancakes. This is a fun evolution, even if the render on the waffle chest plate needs serious work. I love the stack of pancakes and plate acting as a hat with these syrup pans and forktail. It all creates a really simple but effective food theme for the Pokemon. I really like the berries on top of the ears and the pancake hat. I think that helps contribute to the overall silhouette nicely. I do have an idea for an Aromatisse evolution for the eventual DLC, so don't you worry about that. Octolite, the fossil gem Pokemon. This line is a personal favorite of mine in this region, being based off of octopi and ammonite rocks. The moment I saw an ammonite rock/fossils, I knew I had to make a Pokemon out of it. Naturally, since they're ammonites, I made them into octopi to reference the real-life animal/fossil. The beautiful, trippy colors were a lot of fun to play around with, and I had to use a different brush than usual to get this effect after trial and error. I know this line is generally too colorful for a normal Pokemon palette, but I don't care. They're beautiful. This is probably the best rendered line in the entire region. Emolition, the Spectre Shell Pokemon. Slap an Ectostone on Octolite and you get this beauty of a Spectre. This is my favorite Pokemon in the entire region. I love everything about how this came out. I put in so much time and effort into this design, mainly with the shell/fossil, and it was worth every second. I tried to make sure the shell was colorful but relatively coherent, hence the blue being the central color throughout the majority of it. I love the slight transparency at the end of the tentacles, giving the Pokemon more of a ghostly feel to it. If I didn't have Geist-Chew on my team already, this would have made the cut. Iciclynx, the Ice Stalker Pokemon. Based off of Canadian Lynxes, this little cutie is solid all around. I love the orange eyes contrast against the blue and white of the rest of the color scheme. The pose is overall alright. I do like the head positioning here the most. I had to make the feet big since Lynx feet are huge. Big ol' murder mittens. This has a really good shiny. Love the pink and black here. Cellifreeze, the Ice Stalker Pokemon. We got another cryptid here, this being based on a Cellifay. You get this Pokemon when you slap a Harmony Stone on Iciclynx. Described as a giant blue lynx with a long tail with the ability to throw their voice to fool potential prey, I figured the Cellifay was a perfect fit for this line. The biggest hurdle with this design was the color distribution. That took a minute, mainly choosing the central shade of blue for the fur. I lampshaded the fact that this and Ventrilocat from the Texican region have the same type and overall playbook. Whoops. Oncouvian Scorbunny, the rabbit Pokemon. This is probably the weakest regional variant line in the whole region. I know I could have done better. Instead of soccer, the Scorbunny of the region are based around ice hockey. I need to recolor the ice on their head and feet so it's clearer. I decided to swap around the color placements from the Galarian version and made this Pokemon mainly red and blue with some white accents. I thought that was an easy way to differentiate them while still showing off the fire typing this Pokemon holds on to. Oncouvian Raboot, the rabbit Pokemon. My personal favorite of the line. I modeled this stage more around hockey fans, with the chest and arms resembling a sports jersey. I kept the mouth hidden, with the fur covering the lower part of the face acting like a scarf instead of a hoodie/jacket. The pattern on the arms and torso took a while to iron out, so the color balance was overall solid. I added the highlights to the hair for color balance, and I thought it looked too boring otherwise. Again, need to recolor the literal ice skates, and the overall render needs a touch-up as well. Honestly, I think the line peaked here. Goaliferno, the Rabbit Guard Pokemon. The regional evolution to Oncovian Raboot. This is modeled after hockey goalies. I wanted this and Cinderace to be completely different in terms of their body plans. So this Pokemon is wide. This is a physical tank that will not be moved by anything. As much as I think I could have done better with this design, and boy, I think I could have done better, I still love the hockey stick ears with the ice at the end. I thought that was clever. The face went through multiple passes so it wasn't too busy but still resembled a hockey mask clearly. The shiny needs work. It's kind of a hot mess. I think this is the weakest of the evolutionary line, but I know I've done far worse than this. Iceberg, the penguin Pokemon. Back-to-back new evolutions here. First, we had the evolved form of Ice-Cube based on Rockhopper penguins. I ditched Ice Space for this Pokemon and gave it 3 rotating glaciers spinning around it, taking hits for it in battle. I made it part Psychic type because I thought that would give me the most creative freedom and to create a nice contrast with its version exclusive counterpart we'll be talking about next. I love how this design came out. This is still a silly little guy with its tiny head and big ol' eyebrows. I added the purple to naturally show off the Psychic type visually. I really love the Glaciers rendering. I think I kind of popped off there. Pulverlord, the Tundra King Pokemon. This mighty warrior is the evolved form of Beartic once it defeats 3 Alpha Beartics in battle. I based this off of Barbarian Kings with the giant fur around the shoulders and the ice crown and beard for some pizzazz. I almost made it an ice ghost type to reference polar bears slowly dying out due to climate change, but I changed my mind and made it a fighting type to reference their resilience and power. I really love the ice covering their arms like armor. I think that is a super fun visual element to the design. There are things I think I could have done better, but I am happy with the overall result. I brought back Arctic Rage from the Oncouv region since I thought that was apt for this Pokemon to have. Frost River, the tiny eel Pokemon. Based off of American eels, I created this line because I needed more water types and I wanted to do an Eelmon. Other than the area where the body meets the tail fin, I don't have any major issues with this design. Maybe I could have made the eye its own distinct color to help it stand out more, but that's a nitpick if anything. I do like the shiny. The orange and green looks good to me with the black accents. Medicinal, the river medic Pokemon. Now adding the grass type because of the medicinal herbs that grow on its body, this Pokemon is a common partner for doctors around the region. I wanted to do something different with this eel compared to most of my eel Pokemon. I had the plant on the forehead to be the central design element, the plant jutting out of the bottom of riverbeds when they sleep. While the face isn't all that different from all of my other eel Pokemon, I do need more diversity there. I do like how the overall design came out. Might redo the shiny. I don't think it's as good as its Prevos. Juggernaut, the mini muscle Pokemon. The wishy-washy of the region, I knew I had to make this Pokemon once the pun popped into my head. I based this Pokemon off of circus strongmen and cartoon insect swarms. Only thing I need to change is to shrink the arms and to make the thorax/tail more of a unified shape versus the segmented look it has now. This is one of my favorite wishy-washy clones. This thing has such a personality in this form. But let's talk about the main event for this Pokemon, the flexing form. Initially, this form was nothing but a giant oversized arm and fist, but I thought having it attached to a tiny body made the design more interesting. This was a fun design to play around with. The color's taking a few passes to nail down. One of my favorites in the region, for sure. Garrotrout, the fur dragon Pokemon. The final convergent of the region, this is based on fur-bearing trout, a well-known hoax at this point. This honestly could be classified more of a regional form in all honesty, but I like the idea of a convergent Pokemon more. I need to fix the render on the fur around the torso. The shading is not up to my standards nowadays. Otherwise, I really like the design. That shiny is pretty damn good in my opinion. Magipogo, the Fur Dragon Pokemon. A Convergent Gyarados, this now adds in Ogopogo, another aquatic Canadian cryptid. This one took a while to nail down. I need to change the face a bit better to show this Pokemon's constant tired nature. The spikes coming down from the jaw initially were more complicated, but I simplified them from the first draft. Had a lot of issues with the posing, mainly getting the curve of the body to look right. It's still not completely there even now. This is still a fun design, just needs another pass to make it perfect. Terragraph, the Morse code Pokemon. This was another Pokemon I created as part of a competition, the same one Semisick was a part of, this being based on Ankylosauruses and a telegraph machine. This is one of my favorite Pokemon in the entire region. I think this is a generally perfect design. I love the Morse code pattern along the 3 metal sections of the body. I thought that was a really clever design element and pattern. I think the headphones around the head provide a nice splash of color on the face, and when combined with the closed eyes, just create a pretty strong design. The shiny is alright. I like the pink, but the rest could use some work. Violin, the instrument tail Pokemon. I was trying to make more sound types for the region, and the pun hit me when I was taking a shower, like most of my best ideas. I know I have Bumberjack already, but there is no such thing as too many beaver Pokemon. The tail naturally took the longest time as the focal point of the design, mainly getting the perspective right and making it flow into the back without being too complicated. I loved the curled hair looking like the end of a violin. I think that helps create a fun look for the Pokemon. I don't love the shiny now that I'm looking at it again. Yikes. Zatotem, the Mystic Pokemon. Back-to-back evolutions. I know we've had a lot in this video. This is the evolved form of Xatu once it learns its signature move, Psychic Flare, and it goes full-on totem pole for the design. Initially, I tried to have each segment of the body be floating, held together with ESP, but it didn't look natural, so I combined the segments again into a singular body. The colors and patterns took forever to nail down, going back and forth to get the correct color balance and to keep the design from being overly complicated. Despite all that, this is one of the better evolutions in the region. Smog, the air pollution Pokemon. Scratching that kaiju itch, this is the evolved form of Muck once exposed to a Sky Stone, and is based on Crop Dusters and Hedorah. I really love this design, but it's not perfect. I think this Pokemon is too overtly plane-shaped to an extent. I need to make it feel more goopy, and I feel the eyes probably could have been closer to Muck's for more design cohesion across the line. Despite all of this though, this is one of my favorite evolutions, period. I thought this design is super creative and clever, and I just need another pass to iron out my lingering kinks here. Whew! Alright, that'll wrap up part 2 of this video series. We've had some of my absolute favorites in the region showcased here. Down below, please let me know what your favorite Pokemon showcased was, and what your current team looks like so far. Like and subscribe if you feel so inclined, and turn on the bell. Helps y'all stay updated when I drop the next video. My socials are in the description if you want to follow me there for more info, or for Pokemon not showcased on the channel yet. Next time, we conclude the Oncouv region with the remainder of the Pokedex. We got some big ones coming, so stay tuned. This is Austin signing out.